The underlying document is a Geneva communique, which talks about transition, which most people understand as a movement to a new leadership. How do you understand it?
I think what we understand is to take it step by step. The first article in Geneva 1 is to stop violence by all parties, to end all fighting in Syria. And then even when you talk about a transitional body or whatever, this has to be decided by the Syrians. And even President Obama in his speech at the UN, he said the decision is for the Syrian people. This should be subject to discussion. Whatever the Syrians agree to should be fine, but with no foreign or regional interference in the will of the Syrian people.
The opposition say they want to know that President Assad will go at some point. Is that something the Syrian government is willing to offer?
When I use opposition leaders, I like to say oppositions. So I would like to ask which opposition. I think Saud Faisal yesterday was speaking about an opposition that Saudi Arabia and the US created. There are other countries who created other oppositions. So the measure, the criteria for us is the interest of Syria and the interest of the Syrian people. And to meet with no precondition, and the President Assad to go or to stay is the decision of the Syrian people.
But if some Syrians continue to insist that it must be clear that at some point in the transition, President Assad will go, is this something that the government is willing to commit to get the process started, to get the talks started? Well,
President Assad said many times that the only way he would deal with this is through the will of the Syrian people, through elections or through, the ballot box or through referendum. So I don't know why when the West speaks about its own democracy, speaks about elections, when they speak about Syria, they want to decide in Geneva and on behalf of the Syrian people what the Syrian people want. What we would like to do is to end this crisis, this violence in Syria, and then to allow the Syrian people to express their will and to decide the future of Syria. That's what we hope to achieve.
If you are calling, and President Assad has called for an end to support to the opposition, what about the military financial support that the Syrian government gets from outside?
Well, we didn't need that help from outside, and I don't know what help are we having from outside. If we
hear the sound of shelling here as well.
I know, if we didn't have this horrid crisis that has been created really by external forces, and so once you stop the violence, once you stop the armament into Syria, I think everything else would take its course easily.
So the government would be willing to do what it's asking the opposition to do, stop its external support?
There's not a single
We've seen
opposition.
military.
That's the problem.
No, but for the government, because I have seen myself Hezbollah fighters on the ground helping the Syrian army. Would that have to stop as well?
Well, I don't think the Syrian army would be fighting anybody once you get the armed gangs out. That the Syrian army would not be there on the ground, would be back to its original job. That's what we wanted to do.
Does the Syrian government understand that to make peace there has to be compromises in order to share power?
I think this would be left to the Syrian people to discuss and to decide. I don't think the issue is about power now. I think the issue is about saving the country and saving the Syrian people. That's the utmost priority. Power comes next.